So the second live letter for Final Fantasy XIV patch 6.4 just finished up, and of course Yoshi P had a ton of news to tell us. I'm going to try to keep this one as spoiler free as I can. Notably, there was some stuff shown about the Extreme Trial, and because that's from the main story, I won't talk about that. But it does look really cool, and you should really check it out if you don't mind the spoilers. We'll start off with all the big information. As far as balancing goes, there won't be many substantial changes, mostly just DPS updates. While not every change was mentioned, the big one is that due to feedback about Dark Knight's damage being higher than other tanks, the other tanks are going to be getting buffs to catch up with Dark Knight. I'm almost always a fan of this kind of direction, and I'm glad because it doesn't ruin the balance of previous encounters as much. They're changing the range of most party buffs to be 30 yalms. This is going to be good for both buffs and mitigation, so things like Bard Songs and Shield Samba. Notably, this change will not apply to heals, so don't get too excited. Other notable changes being mentioned is that Paladin's Atonement won't interrupt combos, and that Dragoons can use their jumps while being bound. There are also some updates on Savage content. A lot of people are probably going to like these changes. First of all, the Savage tier is again dropping 1 week after the patch comes out, just like 6.2. This means that you'll have time to gear up and prepare for it. Savage only has 1 coffer now, regardless of how many people have cleared the encounter or not. The loot and reward structure is still the same, just it all happens with 1 chest instead of 2. Coffers also won't reward duplicate armor pieces now for the same slot. Now this one's huge. The chest piece will drop from the 3rd fight instead of the 4th fight. Not only that, but you're going to use Mythos 3 to exchange for it as well. And speaking of the Mythos items, you will now only need 6 Mythos items to exchange for your body gear and your leg gear. And for accessories, you only need 3 instead of 4. This means that gearing up will be 2 weeks faster than before, if you're not getting drops anyway. Also, the Mythos 4 item can be exchanged for Mythos 1, 2, or 3. All these changes will help people to gear up much faster, and it'll make alt job gearing much easier as well, which has been a big complaint. We already know that we're getting Zurvan, but there was a mention that apparently the fight was considered pretty easy back in Heavensward. So maybe the Unreal version might be a little harder than before, but who knows. Next up is that we're getting new tomestones. The big surprise here is that they're actually using the weapon design contest winners for the tome weapons. And geez, do these look gorgeous. Paladin players are especially really lucky, as they've taken to designing the tome gear around some of the weapons themselves. On the flip side, the crafted raid gear looks really casual and modern. Doesn't look very combat focused. While this might not be for everyone, I know I'm definitely going to enjoy it, and it'll be fun to see people using raid gear for glamour. They also announced a special fight for FanFest. I'm not sure if they've ever done this before, so it's pretty interesting. There isn't really much context on who this person is that you're fighting, so I'm curious to see what it's about. Even though this fight is for FanFest attendees initially, they will be adding it to the game later. I wonder if there's going to be any story to it. Next up for combat is Blue Mage. Blue Mage is getting expanded to level 80, with new spells, new duties, and new enemies to the Masked Carnival. For all the Blue Mage enthusiasts out there, this one's for you. We're also finally getting the next variant and Criterion dungeon, Mount Rokon. As far as I can tell, it's going to be the same as last time. Same rules, same skills, same multiple pathways and everything. I want to say that most people were probably hoping for news on how the rewards are going to work. This was the one aspect that they didn't really talk about much, but we are getting new glams at least. It does sound like there may be some extra fun stuff with the lore, so we'll see what Hancock here has to offer. We're also getting a huge update to Island Sanctuary. So just to get the expected stuff out of the way, we're getting updates to all of the features, new island ranks, new gathering items, new construction plots, new rewards, new animals. Pretty much everything's getting more. But the big thing, we're finally getting outdoor furnishing support for the island. There was an extensive demo that Yoshi P showed of how the system works that I encourage you to check out. But the main thing you need to know is that we're getting 90 slots to place items. They said that we can't place things like training dummies or gardens because they couldn't get it to work, which I found interesting since honestly I thought the restriction was intentional, to keep garden plots as a perk for homeowners. Either way, it's still really cool. The furnishings can be placed around other structures. The really big thing here is that the items that you place won't be consumed. That means that you can buy one item and place it as many times as you like. This is such a nice quality of life feature, especially for the more expensive items. You'll also be able to save up to 120 items in a convenient list, so you won't need to keep them all in your inventory as you're placing things. And of course, you can still dye them as well. Keep in mind that using an item on the Island Sanctuary will bind it to your character, so you won't be able to sell it later. And speaking of housing items, we're getting some more of the design contest winners being included in the patch. Here's what they showed off. I really can't wait for this deck to be added. So many of the items from the contest winners are really good. If you haven't seen the list of winners, I really encourage you to check it out. And of course, this is going to be a great opportunity for a lot of the crafters out there to make some gil. PvP is getting some fun stuff too. Crystalline Conflict Season 7 starting, and they've added a cool new reward. Top 100 ranked players can get an item to upgrade the Hellhound weapons to add a glowy effect. I'm a big fan of this. We're also getting the Series 4 Momstone patch for PvP, and a new UI for Frontlines. I don't know about you, but I always found it kind of confusing to figure out how well my team was doing, so this should be a big help. There will also be miscellaneous changes to job balance, and limit break recharge rate. Finally, Field of Glory has been updated. The map has been hopefully made easier to understand, with some terrain changes too. I'm not a Frontlines expert, so I couldn't tell you the full context on all of this, but hopefully it's a good change. We also got to see some new mounts and minions. While I don't have the best pictures of these, we're getting a new bed mount, we're getting an axolotl mount, we're getting a pill demon thing. We're also getting what looks like a Nier robot with bunny ears. My guess is it's from the treasure maps like the elephant, but who knows. I'm a big fan of the monkey minion that we're getting. We're getting one of these, whatever it's called, an otter, and a dog in a ninja costume. Last but definitely not least, there are a couple of other updates that we're getting that aren't really related to any major features. We're getting a new ocean fishing route to Kugane. Scholars can now glam their ferry with Eos, Selene, or Carbuncle. They're upping the gear set count to 100, unlocking this for all players as soon as they start the game. We're now going to see job icons both in the chat log and in nameplates. But the chat log feature only works when you're in the party or an alliance. You can use glasses and wing fashion accessories while you're in combat in the overworld. I wonder if they'll add these to raids too. They might be too distracting. We're also getting a cool feature for in-rooms. Your glamour cast menu will pull from the dresser and the armoire as well. Yoshi P did make some comments on how the development of the glamour system works. He said that it can be scared for new engineers to touch the source code, and that this is a reason why it can take a little bit longer for updates to happen. I just hope that we get more glamour plates pretty soon. Something I forgot to mention about the weapon design contest is that the weapons that weren't chosen to be used for the tome weapons will be seen in a later time. It wasn't clear if Yoshi P meant in this patch or not, but either way, they're in the works. And I think that's about everything. If you made it this far, I really appreciate it. I'm really trying to grow a community, and if you've enjoyed this or my other videos, I'd love for you to come join my Discord and hang out. I'm always looking for people to talk about Final Fantasy with, especially if you love making guild like I do. Anyway, thanks for watching, don't forget to sub, and I'll see you in the next one.